Anna stared at the notification on her datapad, her jaw tightening with each word she read. After 5 years of exemplary service to the Galactic Mining Consortium, after every dangerous asteroid field she'd navigated and every impossible deadline she'd met, her bonus was an outdated cargo hauler that belonged in a museum. Meanwhile, her Xanthari colleague Krithik had just been awarded the new stellar Phantom X7, complete with quantum drives, auto-repair nanobots, and AI navigation systems that could plot courses through black hole clusters. Anna had trained Krithik herself when he joined the company 2 years ago. It is simply a matter of species compatibility, Krithik had explained with his characteristic clicking sounds that passed for sympathy among his kind. The X7's neural interface is calibrated for Xanthari physiology. You understand? Yes. Anna understood perfectly. She understood that humans were still considered the galaxy's laborers, the scrappy newcomers who'd barely crawled out of their gravity well a century ago. She understood that no matter how hard she worked, the sleek new ships would always go to someone with the right number of limbs or the proper cranial ridges. That night, Daniel found her in the maintenance bay, running diagnostics on her bonus, a battered YT-class freighter that had been retired before Anna was born. You're not seriously considering keeping this rust bucket, are you? Daniel asked, his boots echoing on the metal deck. He was the only other human in their sector, working as a logistics coordinator. Oh, I'm keeping it, Anna said, not looking up from the power coupling she was rewiring. But not for the reasons they think. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Anna, what are you planning? She finally turned to face him, her eyes gleaming with something between determination and recklessness. I'm planning to show them what humans can do without data technology. I leave at 4 a.m. Leave. Leave for where? The Kepler Rift run. Solo. Daniel's face went pale. The Kepler Rift was a gauntlet of spatial anomalies, radiation storms, and gravitational shears that connected the inner sectors to the lucrative mining fields of the outer reach. Most corporations sent entire convoys with state-of-the-art ships. The mortality rate for solo runs was 73%, even with modern vessels. Anna, that's suicide. This ship doesn't even have proper shielding. Then I'll build it, she said simply. I've got 8 hours. What happened over those 8 hours became the stuff of legend in the human quarters of a dozen space stations. Anna tore into that old freighter like a woman possessed. She ripped out the decorative panels the consortium had installed to make it look less decrepit and found spaces for additional power cells. She bypassed the safety limiters on the engines, a typically human modification that made alien engineers recoil in horror. She welded scrap metal plating onto the hull in techniques her grandfather had taught her from Earth's old naval traditions. Daniel stayed with her, partly to help and partly because he couldn't believe what he was witnessing. At 2 a.m., Anna was installing a manual override system that would let her fly the ship entirely by hand if the computers failed. At 3 a.m., she was programming custom algorithms into the navigation computer, using her own observations from years of flying these routes. You know, Daniel said as he handed her a plasma torch, the regulations say you need a co-pilot for the Rift run. Anna paused, then smiled. You hate flying. I hate watching friends kill themselves more. Besides, someone needs to document this for when you prove them all wrong. At 3:58 a.m., they fired up the engines. The freighter shuddered and groaned, its systems protesting the modifications, but then it settled into a steady thrum that sounded almost eager. At exactly 4 a.m., they launched. The consortium's night shift controllers barely noticed the departure. One old freighter leaving dock was hardly worth attention, especially when piloted by humans. They'd probably assume Anna was taking it for a short range supply run, or perhaps selling it for scrap. They had no idea she was heading straight for the Kepler Rift. The first gravitational shear hit them 6 hours into the journey. The ship's warning klaxons blared, but Anna was already compensating, her hands dancing across manual controls that most pilots hadn't touched in decades. Daniel watched in awe as she seemed to anticipate each twist of space-time, rolling the freighter through impossible angles that the automated systems of modern ships would have rejected as too dangerous. How are you doing this? Daniel gasped as they skimmed past a radiation storm that would have fried the circuits of any AI-controlled vessel. I'm thinking like a human, Anna said, grinning fiercely. We evolved dodging predators and throwing rocks at moving targets. Our brains are wired for this kind of reactive, intuitive flying. The aliens build ships that think for them. We build ships that think with us. The Kepler rift threw everything it had at them over the next 48 hours. Gravitational anomalies that bent light into grotesque spirals. Radiation bursts that would have killed any unshielded crew. Microasteroid fields that required split-second decisions and reactions faster than computer processing. Anna met each challenge with a combination of human intuition, improvised engineering, and sheer stubborn refusal to quit. When the starboard engine overheated, she rerouted coolant from the sleeping quarters. When the navigation computer crashed, she plotted their course using stellar landmarks and Daniel's frantic calculations on a backup datapad. When the hull plating she'd welded began to fail, she performed a spacewalk at relativistic speeds to reinforce it with emergency sealant. 73 hours after leaving the dock, the battered freighter emerged from the Kepler rift into the outer reach. They'd made it. Not only made it, they'd set a new speed record. The communications channels exploded with chatter as stations throughout the sector detected their arrival. An old YT-class freighter had just completed a solo run through the Kepler rift, something that was supposed to be impossible without quantum drives and AI navigation. Anna opened a channel back to Consortium headquarters. Freighter designate Anna's Pride to Consortium control. Kepler rift run completed. Time, 73 hours, 14 minutes. Requesting docking clearance at Outer Reach Station for cargo pickup. There was a long silence before Krithik's voice came through, his clicking unusually rapid. Anna, how is this possible? That ship is was outdated. Anna leaned back in her chair, exhausted but triumphant. You gave me an old ship, Krithik. You just forgot that humans are really good at making old things work in ways nobody else expects. See you in a few weeks when I bring back a full cargo hold. She closed the channel and looked at Daniel, who was grinning despite his obvious exhaustion. You know they're going to want to study what you did to this ship, he said. Let them study, Anna replied. Maybe they'll finally learn that humanity's strength isn't in having the best technology. It's in making whatever we have into exactly what we need. As the old freighter docked at Outer Reach Station, word was already spreading through human communities across the galaxy. One woman, one outdated ship, and one impossible run that proved what humans had been saying since they first reached the stars. Give us the scraps, the hand-me-downs, the impossible challenges, and we'll show you what humanity, fuck yeah, really means. The stellar Phantom X7 might have better specs on paper, but Anna's Pride had something no amount of advanced technology could replicate: a human pilot who refused to accept limitations, and the sheer audacity to prove everyone wrong by leaving at 4 a.m. The end.